This is going to be another live coaching discussion. Again, I just want to discuss a few topics. Today, there's going to be only one topic, and the topic's going to be about stalking. Um, Stalking can be a very, very horrible experience. Um, some of us, will encounter this. I think the statistics say that some of us will encounter this sometime throughout our lifetime, depending on your gender, your race, and affiliations as well. Okay, so you have to keep a lot of different. You have to keep an open perspective on why or the motives behind why someone would want to stalk and harass you. Um, I don't like talking about my own experiences, but I do when I'm talking about in discussion. I've experienced some stalking because of a relationship, not because of the person stalking me, but because other people were stalking us, and the relationship just trying to find out information and trying to separate us. We've officially separated, and they're still harassing me. Um, they've done a lot to, again, prohibit the relationship from moving forward, and then they continued to then harass me post all their actions against the relationship and against me. I was the weaker person to target because I am not successful in their eyes. um, I didn't have this wonderful job. I'm an entrepreneur, so they felt as if there was, you know, more to gain for them, and that was a better, and I was more, I guess, available to them to harass than my ex-partner who works for the government. So again, it's just um, a lot to keep in mind when you are going through such a horrible experience and you're just wondering why all these horrible things are occurring, and people are not understanding. Now, the people that started stalking me were people in authority figures, which really led to a lot of just it's still going on. It's an ongoing problematic scenario of trying to get some of these people, to realize that they have their own life, their own special identity in their lives, whether it's with their families, whether it's with their friends, whether it's with their own personal spouses and or girlfriends and or children. And I feel like sometimes in life people might not see things clearly when they're doing certain things. For instance, if you're harassing someone, you know, I'm sure those people are not thinking clearly if they're harassing someone. To me, if I would have anything to harass someone about, it would be if someone did something to me. So for them, I'm not really sure why they're after me so, persistently. It doesn't really make any sense. I guess, sometimes when you're not supporting certain people and you're not giving them the praise that they feel as if they deserve, they can get upset by that, and they can feel as if they want to lash out, because they expect you to look at them as a hero in the scenario and not really someone who contributed to the problems. And honesty is the best policy. And when people lack honesty, it can become very difficult for them to see past their own point of view, because they're on a campaign, and the campaign is to again cause some kind of contentious kind of environment for me. And instead of looking at why they're doing that, or because of why they're doing that, or just where is it coming from? Where's it stemming from? There's always a root cause. And some people, sometimes it takes them, maybe years for them to realize that the root cause is really them. They're taking most of the action and doing most of these actions toward someone else. So if they're doing that toward me, for instance, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of tedious time being spent on someone who, doesn't really have anything to do with them and doesn't really affect them. So it doesn't make much sense to do that. But if you are experiencing that, or if you have experienced that, or if you ever encounter that, know that there are many ways to, overcome that. Again, keeping a documented log or documentation log of all the harassment is always a plus. I would always say that. But you can always contact the authority figures if you need to. In my case, I can't contact anyone because I am an immigrant. So I am, again, there's no rights for me, which is untrue, but true. Okay. So there are rights for everyone that lives within the United States, but unfortunately, there are zero rights for you if you're being targeted by authority figures within the United States. So you have to be very careful about how much that your environment how much of your environment is a very toxic one, and who you do have for support and who you don't have for support. um, Note that some people, again, they pursue certain things or pursue certain environments because they find it an easy place. For instance, if someone's a pedophile, um, they might choose to be in a job or a profession that will enable them to be a pedophile. um, for instance, they might become a teacher, they might become, a police officer, they might become a detective, they might become anything, something where they feel as if they can get away and they're above the law. They get to get away and do whatever they want. And like, for instance, people who become, religious people are always targeted as some of the people who were involved in pedophilia. And those individuals, are in a religious setting, and people might not think of them as, individuals. So people might not assume those individuals are capable of, you know, abusing children or adults or young adults, or whoever they're abusing sexually and or in any other way, emotionally, physically, um, spiritually. So a lot of people, and spiritually is a big one. I'm going to talk about that one in another video. That way you guys can get a little bit more insight on some of the negative things or negative aspects of being here on earth. It could be a very challenging ordeal when you're dealing with people who are attacking you spiritually, and that can get very, very intriguing for some, um, disbelief for others, and annoyance for those who are, again, attacking you. Yeah, so again, if you're dealing with someone who is abusing their authority, or trying to, again, profess to the world, again, some people say you shouldn't care what other people think and of you and say of you, and I truly 100% believe that. Like, for instance, someone might become a worker in the healthcare field, and they might do it for a paycheck, and others might do it because they truly feel the need, like they feel like that's the right place or the right fit for them, because of the type of person that they are. And some people just do it because they love working. Again, there are some people who are very adaptable like that, where they have, they're very flexible people, where they can actually, any career would be suitable for them because of who they are, their personality, or the type of traits that they have, certain qualities and skills that they have. Um, but when people pursue certain careers or certain things, certain life paths that put them in a position to then, be on opposition to others, to a large group of other people, and try to, get away with doing a lot of mean and very nasty and we're talking about very vile things to others, and having some kind of protective mechanism where they're like, oh no, I'm untouchable. No one could ever in their entire lives, think that I'm a horrible person. That's really sad. That's very, very sad to me, when people think that. And the only thing you can do is wait till God, actually can make pass His judgment, because people can pass their judgment. They pass it all the time, but doesn't mean that their judgment is correct or concise or even clear. Okay, so it is important to understand that there is another life. Somehow works out in so many different ways, and you have to see how things kind of interconnect to each other, in life. So you might, you might be on an emotional, or I wouldn't say emotional, but I want to use a word that that can describe our, I think, okay, so maybe in a very self-evolved realm in your life here on earth. And that might take you and catapult your ego to a very stable place. It might be a very a couple steps higher than where you usually are. And when you get to that point, you have to understand you have to correct yourself too as time goes past in your life, where you say to yourself, okay, well, I am here in my life and that this feels awesome and this feels really good, but there are possibilities of me being here or me, falling short of what I need to be in my life. Um, and you have to keep that awareness constant because of the evil that does exist in this world, and the evil are disguised in people sometimes, and that's really the part of life that's really sucky because you have to deal with people who are, so obsessed with really taking away from life, taking away from others, taking away from everyone around them that they feel is surpassing them. And again, you cannot really surpass anyone but yourself, really. You can always push yourself to the point that you feel like you cannot reach by, again, excelling in whatever it is that you want to excel in. But you cannot really do that for someone else. You cannot excel for someone else. You cannot de-accelerate for someone else. You cannot really maneuver or change other people's lives, even if you feel as if you can impact someone's life, whether it's good or bad, but you can't really change someone's life or change who someone, like how someone is or how someone thinks or how people are. You have to really keep an open mind about yourself and your ego and balancing that out at every point in your life. And sometimes some people do a lot of evil and then they get away with it for a very long time. And then they get to a point in their lives where they're challenged by life and they might have children one day. And those children, they're going to want to raise those children. And they're going to encounter some of those same problems that they have caused for a lot of other people. And they're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And that's one of the oddest ways that God can really teach you lessons is through your own children. And he teaches some strong lessons, some lessons of emotion, of pain, of agony that might seem so you're not deserving. Like people might be bewildered by their own children in a way where they don't understand. Like your children could really impact your life. The children, people say children could be very harsh and they could say some mean things to adults, and that's exactly what God puts into your life. And God pretty much expects those children to kind of live out just the way, because again, they're in your environment. They're under your care and your responsibility. And if they somehow, those children, who are yours, start to, say things or do things or become a certain way, then that is really a look upon, like for the parent or the whoever the caregiver is. That's really, it looks, it's kind of like they wear that, okay, they wear that experience of that child's life as well through their own. So if you're doing harm to other people, expect that kind of emotional pain to kind of come back through your children somewhere, somehow. Those disappointments that you did not expect and intend to come back to you somehow. And you're going to have to deal with those challenges because sometimes people avoid that. They live their lives out for a very long time doing a lot, getting away with murder. With murder, some of these people getting away with, racism, prejudice, all of those horrible things, ingrained within their family unit, ingrained within their family's core values. And they're challenged with that as the time, like as years go by, they get challenged with all of these facets of life, and then they have to actually deal with some of these major life issues of love, of compassion, of caring, of really understanding. And how their children turn out is really how it doesn't really define them. But if they had a very strong, hand